Welcome in to our final edition this week of Rock Chalk Sports with Elijah Schmidt, our technical director. I'm Sean Kellerman, rolling you through another day of keeping you up to date on all things going on in the world of sports and here at KU. A ton to get to today. Really excited for the show. Appreciate everybody who's listening over on ESPN Kansas City, watching on kansasnation.com, watching live on Facebook, live on YouTube as well. Like, subscriptions, really appreciate that. If you missed anything, check out the full show that'll be archived on YouTube and, of course, audio format, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us out that way as well. Really appreciate that. Dan Courtwright will be back on Monday as he wraps up his first honeymoon. He pretends like it's not the first of two, but in reality it is. They're in Cancun. They had a pre-planned honeymoon that was supposed to be their honeymoon in London over the KU Arizona State game in less than 100 days. So in September, he will be taking another honeymoon. And don't forget, on Monday, we are going to be recapping not only his honeymoon. I want to hear how it goes. Of course, it's the right thing to do as a friend. But also, we're going to be recapping the wedding because I've been holding on to something this entire week that I have not vocalized that happened at the wedding that we really need to hear the excuse of Dan Courtwright and Piper Courtwright as to what went wrong as it relates to guys like me. So stay tuned for that on Monday's show. But today, we are looking here in the opening segment at the KU men's basketball conference schedule. We don't have dates or times, but we did this yesterday, as yesterday morning, the Kansas women announced the Big 12 scheduling matrix. The three teams they're playing 2 times, and then the other foes if they're facing them at home or on the road. Same deal here in this opening segment, as later in the day yesterday, they announced the men's side. Let you know about that, and then take a look back at last year's matchup, and then we'll also take a peek at what Bart Torvik thinks for some of these teams in the Big 12, in addition to Kansas. Right now, KU number 12, and Bart Torvik's projections for 2027. Usually the computers are right. Usually if you're top 5 team, KenPom, top 5 team in Torvik, you got a great shot of winning the title. Yeah, there's going to be upsets. Yeah, there's going to be some up and down on how these teams look as the season goes on, but it's a pretty good measure for college basketball teams. All right, after that, next segment, we're going to be joined by Shreyas Laddha, Kansas City Star, Kansas City Sports Network. Shreyas is going to talk KU basketball. He's going to also give his take on some football storylines regarding KU as we are in the summer months now. And then going to talk a little bit about his experience last night over at Rock Chalk Park. Really cool event at Rock Chalk Park last night. Algeria training session over at the home of Kansas women's soccer, and the media were invited. Our Elijah Schmidt was out there, as was Shreyas Laddha, and they got a chance to see not just the Algerian team in all practicing everything that they do, but also the pomp and circumstance of the Algerian nationals coming in to support their team, and of course, the unbelievable support that the Lawrence community has had for this Algerian team. It's really, in my opinion, from everything I've seen, become a second home for Algeria, and Lawrence is so happy to have him here, and Algeria seems thrilled to be here. Shreyas is going to stick around for the next segment as he's going to talk NBA draft. That is coming up later this month. Who will go first? Will it be Darren Peterson or will it be AJ Dybantsa? How does Shreyas think this NBA class is as a whole, as he's kind of our NBA insider here at Kansas Nation? And also, other Jayhawks of old, what are their professional opportunities looking like, NBA or otherwise? Trey White, Melvin Council, guys who are really good basketball players and have had an opportunity to work out with some teams and showcase their stuff, but not been quite in the spotlight of Darren Peterson. So Shreyas will have all the info on that. We'll talk World Cup after that. 2 matches yesterday. The nightcap was unbelievably entertaining. That's what I love about the World Cup and the Olympics. It's a chance to really get into soccer for people who don't generally get into soccer. A lot of people had no idea that there's 48 teams. They don't know how the grouping works with the 12 groups and then the elimination round when you get down to 32. Even the rules of soccer, frankly, if you don't follow the Kansas women's soccer team or Sporting KC or the KC Current, perhaps you haven't watched a lot of soccer in your day, but the World Cup is a perfect time to do that. Last night, it was Czechia and South Korea, and the Czech got a 1-0 lead in the 59th minute before South Korea would hang 2 goals before extra time. South Korea would end up winning that one 2-1. So they get 3 points, as does Mexico, who earlier in the day picked up a 2-0 victory over South Africa. So 2 matches. And then, of course, 2 matches today, one already underway, Canada and Bosnia. And then, of course, the big one tonight, 8 p.m., USA and Paraguay. We'll talk World Cup a little bit later in the show. Got to do a little KU whip around after that, as some news has come out today, not just from men's basketball in regards to the scheduling matrix, but women's basketball. We got the scheduling matrix yesterday. They also have an addition to the staff and a familiar name that we'll let you know about. And then Kansas baseball as well. The postseason honors continue to come in. Not just Tyson LeBlanc, as some other KU players have been honored today. We'll fill you in on that. A word on the Royals and a little sports whip around. As I said yesterday, it's not busy in terms of KU per se right now for this time of year, but it's kind of a busy time of year for sports in general. You got the NHL Stanley Cup going on right now. The Carolina Hurricanes defeated the Vegas Golden Knights last night 4-2. Carolina is up 3-2 after 5. NBA Finals Game 5 is tomorrow. We'll give some game picks on that. And then the College World Series. We're sad that Kansas wasn't able to make it, but that starts today as well. So a lot going on in the world of sports. All right, let's look at the Big 12 matrix. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Central Bank. Central Bank and Sporting Kansas City are bringing their Soccer Capital of America pop-up shops to communities across the metro. Stop by select Central Bank locations for discounts on official tournament merchandise, soccer games, giveaways, and the chance to get the limited edition Soccer Capital of America debit card. This Friday's pop-up shop is at Central Bank's West 6th Street branch here in Lawrence until 5 o'clock. So you can view the full schedule of pop-up shops throughout the Cup and get your Soccer Capital of America debit card by visiting soccercapitalkc.com. But again, Central Bank's West 6th branch until 5 o'clock today. Swing on over there. More soccer, more spirit, only at Central Bank, member FDIC. All right, Big 12 matrix on the men's side. It will be an 18-game slate. Each conference team is going to host 6 opponents. They'll have 6 foes on the road and have 3 home-and-home matchups. That's what the setup was last year. That's how it's been on the women's side. I think they're going to continue to keep that on the men's side as well. The conference season will begin in early January, as it did last year. We don't necessarily want to relive Kansas going to UCF and losing their opener last year, but that was in early January. Big 12 tournament still at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. That's going to be March 9th through 13th. All right. The teams that Kansas is playing both at home and on the road. K-State, pretty much a shoo-in every year. That's going to be the case. Iowa State and Baylor. So a couple old Big 8 foes, K-State and Iowa State. And then you also get Baylor. Iowa State, that returns as a home-and-home after kind of a weird couple-year stretch. It feels like Kansas and ISU should play against each other twice every year, but again, that's just not how it works out. Last year, Kansas lost to them in Ames and also beat them at home at Allen Fieldhouse. That was kind of the thing that got Kansas going. They had that 8-game win streak after knocking off previously unbeaten Iowa State in the middle of the conference season that ended up honestly being the highlight of the season. So you get Iowa State home and home again after, again, a couple-year stretch before last year where that did not happen. KU also gets Baylor home and home. That's something that hasn't happened in a while. Last year, Kansas took care of business against a bad Baylor team at home. The year before was the disastrous loss where Kansas gave up 60 in the second half to Baylor in Waco. Despite leading big at half, Kansas was unable to hold on. So home and home against Scott Drew's new-look Baylor Bears. And then, of course, K-State. They've got a new head coach, and they're probably going to be a rebuilding program, but it's let me take a peek right now at where K-State is. Of course, you never really know nowadays. Right now in Torvik, they're 79th. So, yeah, not a lot of high expectations for Casey Alexander and his Wildcats. So you would like to think Kansas will take care of business 2 times over against the Cats. We have the non-con schedule. Home and home, K-State, Iowa State, Baylor. And then the rest of the conference schedule is as follows. Home games, Arizona State, Colorado, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, UCF, and West Virginia. Road games, Arizona, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, TCU, Utah. Couple things to get to right off the jump. The Big 12 does a pretty good job of if you're only going to face a team once, if you had to play them at home one year, you're probably going on the road next time around. There's a few exceptions. Let's look at probably the most difficult games on this schedule. Of course, at Waco, like I said, and at Iowa State, those are going to be tough teams you play twice. The road games that I just mentioned, Arizona, BYU, Houston. That's kind of one tier of difficult road opponents for Kansas. The other tier of road opponents for Kansas is Cincinnati, TCU, Utah. Cincinnati was a fringe bubble team last year. TCU was on the 8-9 last year in the NCAA tournament, got a win in the NCAA tournament. Those aren't going to be easy wins for Kansas. But again, Cincinnati, TCU, Utah, you feel pretty good about KU going down there and picking up a victory. Arizona, they're going to be a wagon, as usual. Torvik right now has Arizona in the early stages at number 5. Again, Kansas is 12. Zona is going to be replacing a lot of guys like Braden Burries and Koa Pete and many others, but Mo Krivas is back. They're going to have a lot of talented players, and of course, they hit the transfer portal and have a really good freshman class again, so that'll be difficult. BYU, I can't imagine it's ever going to be easy going up against BYU in Provo. The Marriott Center, they have a fantastic home crowd. BYU is 36th in Torvik. That'll be difficult. Like I said, you have the Cougar faithful backing them. Not going to be an easy one. And then Houston, again, they're returning JoJo Tugler. They're losing a lot of talented players like Milos Uzan, like Emmanuel Sharp, like Chris Sinak Jr., like Kingston Flemings. Where are they at in Torvik after losing all those guys? 3. Houston, they're going to continue to be a national power as long as Kelvin Sampson is there. So if you look at the road games, the 6 teams that Kansas plays on the road exclusively, Arizona, BYU, Houston. We'll say 1 and 2 there. If Kansas wants to be a Big 12 contender, they want to win the Big 12 title, you got to win at least one of those games, and you probably got to go 3-0 against middling-type teams to bottom-tier type teams in TCU, Cincinnati, and Utah. That puts your road record in those 6 standalone road games against those opponents at 4-2. Home games, at no point will I ever expect Kansas to lose a game at home. Exclusive home opponents for Kansas. ASU, kind of strange, isn't it? We haven't seen it to where Arizona and Arizona State aren't lumped together, but this is a rare year where you go to Zona on the road, you don't also hang around to play Arizona State. I wonder if the fact that Arizona State picked up the pieces, essentially, from a team that just had to play Arizona on the road played a factor, because that happened many times, including to Kansas last year, where a team plays Arizona, win or lose, they go to Arizona State, and they lose to a bottom-tier Arizona State team, kind of taking advantage of an Arizona hangover. Anyway, the 6 exclusive home games for Kansas, Arizona State, that should be a win. I'm going to show you everybody's Torvik as I do this, but it's not surprising that these teams are going to be low. ASU is 62 in Torvik right now. Colorado, we love Tad Boyle, but they don't have quite the resources that they need. They're 86th in Torvik. That should be a win. Oklahoma State, that's a program on the rise under Steve Lutz. They are 55th right now in Torvik. Still should be a win. Texas Tech, they've been in the news for just about every reason recently. They've been fantastic under Grant McCasland. They are 25th in Torvik. UCF, a team that Kansas lost to when they faced them last year in Orlando, they are 47th right now. They're going to have a new look roster as well. And then West Virginia, you talk about a game that Kansas is going to be hungry to win. West Virginia is 57th in Torvik. I say that because Kansas lost to WVU last year when Bill Self had the comment in the postgame press conference, "We suck right now," as KU was just not playing good basketball after losing road tilts to both UCF and West Virginia and barely beating TCU at home in the middle of that. West Virginia also beat Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse 2 years ago in the conference opener. So Kansas has not beaten West Virginia since 2023. That's shocking, particularly because it's not like it's Javon Carter and Deuce McBride, Bob Huggins walking through that tunnel. It's been a program that's had different coaches. Ross Hodge has that program on the rise. Of course, they won the CBC Crown. Year before, they had Darren DeVries, who had such a successful year for WVU. He got hired by Indiana. So WVU, while they haven't had the names, the talent, the NCAA tournaments the past couple years, they've had some good players, and they've caught Kansas at the right time. each of the last 2 seasons. But again, you look at those 6 games that Kansas has against home opponents. I mean, you really have no excuse to lose to ASU, Colorado, Oklahoma State, UCF, or West Virginia. That's got to be 5-0. Texas Tech is always going to be good. They'll come to Allen Fieldhouse. You still should win that game. You're at Allen Fieldhouse. Like I said, Kansas is higher in Torvik than any of these teams. You feel decent about going 6-0 there. Couple that with 4-2 on the road. You've got a 10-2 record. K-State, like I said, they're down near 80 in Torvik. You should win both of those games. If that's the case for Kansas, you're looking at 12-2. Say you split Iowa State and you split Baylor. Let's, for argument's sake, look at it. Iowa State, of course, they're losing Milan Momcilovic, who's signing an NIL package upwards of $6 million to go transfer to Kentucky, who he helped eliminate in last year's NCAA tournament. They are still going to be really good. They are 18th right now in Torvik. Baylor is 44th. So for argument's sake, I will say that Kansas splits against Baylor. There's a chance they drop one of the other ones that I mentioned. That's still a 14-4 record. That's a lot of teams that Kansas is ranked higher than on Torvik, again, with the exceptions in the Big 12 being Houston at 3 and Arizona at 5. Kansas is 12. Okay, maybe you lose on the road to Houston. Maybe you lose on the road to Arizona. I think even the Jayhawk fans who bleed the most crimson and blue would say that's probably understandable. You're not going to win every game. If you drop those 2 games and maybe lose at Iowa State, who's 18th, and maybe lose either at home to Texas Tech or, like I said, on the road to Baylor, it's still a 14-4 record. Will that be good enough to win the Big 12? Not sure. You've seen what Arizona and Houston have done the last couple years, respectively. You might need to win closer to 15, 16 games to be in the conversation, as crazy as that sounds. But bottom line is it's going to be difficult again for Kansas, and you have a lot of storylines going into each of these. I think you feel okay. The fact that the teams you play twice are not Arizona and Houston. You only have to play those teams each once. Baylor and K-State, gettable teams. You could win 4 games facing those 2 teams. Iowa State, I think it would be understandable to expect a 1-1 record. Having an opportunity to avoid having to play Houston twice and avoid having to play Arizona twice, which is something Kansas has had to do in recent years, that's potentially good. It's good on paper. But yeah, revenge factor for Kansas in some of these games. KU had a more successful conference season last year than they did the year prior, as they went 12-6. Got the 3 seed in the Big 12 tournament compared to the 6 seed as they were a couple years before that. You lost your 1 game to UCF. You get them at Allen Fieldhouse. That should be a slaughter. You lost your 1 game at West Virginia. You get them at Allen Fieldhouse. They also beat you 2 years ago, as I said, at Allen Fieldhouse. Haven't beaten them since 2023. You need to beat a middling West Virginia team. And then Kansas, of course, after both of those losses that occurred early in the season, rolled off 8 straight. You lost at Iowa State. Nobody was shocked by that. They had the revenge factor. You lost to Cincinnati at home. Again, that's a game that you look at the schedule now, and as I just said, you should feel good about getting a win. You don't know. Usually there's a one-off or 2-off situations, but you do have to go to the road to take on Cincinnati. I think you got to still feel confident that they'll have a first-year head coach, Jared Calhoun, who's going to be very good. He's bringing in a ton of transfers. You still got to feel good about Kansas there. Arizona State, you get at home. That needs to be another revenge situation for the Jayhawks as they lost to a bad ASU team last year. And yeah, again, you look at it holistically, I think you feel okay. On paper, this schedule, both in the non-conference, as we talked about last couple weeks, and now in the conference, with getting teams like Baylor and K-State twice, it should be doable for Kansas to pick up more wins, have a better record in the conference season than they did last year. And again, the non-con should be successful from a win-loss standpoint as well. You do have to go to UConn. Of course, you'll get a team like Houston or Florida at some point in all likelihood, and you've got Kentucky, who's a top 25 team. You got Ohio State, who was on the 8-9 last year. Yeah, there's going to be difficult games, but you got to feel decent that Kansas is going to do pretty well from a win-loss standpoint. Much to be decided, though, as the Kansas roster, the Kansas schedule, I should say, is now completely set, non-con and conference schedule. And, yeah, looking forward to seeing how that goes, seeing how the guys mesh together as the Hawks prepare for Late Night in the Fog. That'll be here before we know it in October. We're going to talk more Kansas basketball after this, also touch on KU football and much more with Shreyas Laddha from the Kansas City Star. That's coming up right here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Thanks to everybody who's watching as well, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. And a big thanks to our founding partners here at Kansas Nation, Crown Automotive, Miles Schneier and his team. Fantastic service staff, fantastic sales staff. If you're in the market for new or used, check them out on South Iowa here in Lawrence. They'll get you in the vehicle that you need. And if you're not local, crownautomotive.com. Can't say enough about them helping us get up on our feet here at Kansas Nation, and thrilled to be here and to be thriving. Shreyas Laddha, Kansas City Star. How do you feel about Dan's seat right there?
I feel good, but I feel like it's a little short.
It is.
I was like,
really? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not the tallest dude.
I try to shorten it. There was a long stretch where one of these cameras was slightly shorter than the other.
Really?
So I looked on this main camera that we've got. I looked slightly shorter than Dan, and I am not. I am taller than Dan, and I've got many pictures to back that up.
We took some wedding photos, and I was like, why am I shorter than every single person?
Did you not stand next to Nick?
No, me and Nick, I'm pretty sure Nick, like, I'm like 5'8.5", like we say 5'9", okay?
Yeah.
And Henry told me he's 5'10.5", and I was like, I had no idea Henry was that tall. Like,
Okay,
I thought me
yeah.
and Henry were like the same exact height.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he had me beat by like half an inch or something.
Right,
and I
right.
think Nick was like 5'9.5". So I was looking at those photos that we took together, and I was
Yeah.
like, goodness gracious, I look one year. I was like, I standing next to you, obviously that was gonna happen, but
Yeah.
you know, Dan is also taller than me, so I was like, man,
Right.
that's tough.
Yeah,
That's
for
tough.
sure. That's tough scene. Shreyas Laddha from the Kansas City Star, Kansas City Sports Network as well, joining us. And we got a lot to get to. Speaking of Henry, I want to ask you about how many buckets of sweat he had last night over at Rock Chalk Park as you guys were taking in Team Algeria. But first, let's talk KU basketball. I just broke it down a little bit. Pulled up the Torvik rankings for 2027 because I'm not like a huge nerd on that front. But in college basketball, I don't want to say I'm not open to other things, but I very, very much trust KenPom and very, very much trust Torvik. You know why? Because the proof is in the pudding. Every team who wins the title is a top 5 team in KenPom and Torvik, it seems like, by the end of the year. Now, this is preseason. No one has any idea how it's going to go. But Kansas is at 12 in Torvik. The only teams above them in the Big 12 are Houston at 3 and Arizona at 5. You don't have to face those teams twice. So that's kind of the big story from the Matrix release. You get ISU, Baylor, and K-State, who sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and they've got a first-year head coach, so you feel decent about that. Any other comments on how that shook out? And you can comment on the non-con as well. In my opinion, it's like, all right, there's some games here that Kansas can and should win.
I think the non-con is definitely easier than previous years. I thought the Matrix was fine. I mean, like, you know, you got the big ones in Iowa State, K-State, Baylor obviously playing home and home, right?
Yep.
I thought the away games, as a beat reporter, the locations are much more desirable than last year, candidly. I don't have to travel to Morgantown, West Virginia, so I'm yipping for joy.
Right.
I had to have my 28th birthday in
Oh,
Morgantown.
my God, that's right.
It's not fun.
But you don't get to go to Orlando.
Oh, yeah. See, that feel like it's become a staple on the KU beat.
I know,
is the
right?
Orlando trip.
Yeah. KU and UCF are like brothers on that
Yes.
front. I don't get it. Watch. We'll play UCF the first game of conference season. They love doing that.
Probably. But yeah, no, I thought it was fine. I mean, like, you look, this team is going to be tested by its conference schedule, but the non-con has some good games where we're going to be watching closely to see how they do. I've stopped really caring about basketball and what matters in November because half the time it just means nothing. Duke with Cooper Flagg lost to KJ Adams and KU, and then they went to the Final Four.
Whoa, that's my king.
Yeah.
KJ Adams.
I love KJ
He
Adams.
locked him up.
That's my guy. I'm a big KJ Adams guy. You know this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I knew it was never going to happen in the tournament because he'll figure out how to play against that defense. I mean, he figured out by the second half how to attack KJ. But it's fine. The schedule is fine. It is what it is. To me, I think everyone makes it out to be a bigger deal than it really is. It's either you got it or you don't. Is KU good enough team to be a top 17 country? That's the question we have with this team.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, so many pieces, you really have no idea. I don't really know what to make of the whole 2 position at KU because, again, and we've talked about this, and we'll talk about it all summer because that's what we do, but we got Kenny at the 1. He's a guy who needs to not average 8 points and 6 assists a game. He needs to score more, I think, and we're going to say that off the top. Like, he needs to not be a middling Big 12 point guard. That's literally what it is for me.
100%.
Tay Kenny needs to not be the 6th best point guard in the Big 12 and he needs to not average 8 points a game. What he needs to be is a guy who's going to be a shoe-in first-round NBA draft pick. So that's important. He should be the starter at the 1, Stokes at the 3, Dawes at the 4. Dawes is such a Bill Self guy. I think that's just going to be a match made in heaven.
He's gonna be great.
And then Paul and Reeves, it is what it is. We'll figure it out. Blyden, Rosario, Parker. What's going to happen there? Because Blyden right now is your...
Well, Parker's not going to be a shooting guard for them. I know he told me he's going to learn guard skills, but he's going to play he's 6'6"?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll play probably 3 or 4. He
So
played
you
the
think
4 at Radford.
Okay, so he'll back up Stokes. He'll be
back up
okay.
Stokes.
So
I think
then you
he'll
got
back up Stokes. He'll probably be like the 6th man.
Right. Well, Ginyu Galas don't grow on trees, but I would think that Kansas will get a guy like him because right now at the 1 you've got Kenny and then Blyden, and you don't really have. I mean, not that this dude's going to play a lot, but you would probably add one more. If Kansas finds room. I mean, I think it was August when Gala decided to come to Kansas. But yeah, the 2 position is the most interesting one because you got a guy like Rosario who does everything. He's big, offensive rebound, can score, but then Blyden's a walking bucket. So what do you make of that?
I mean, it comes down to can Cole Rosario hit threes or not. If Cole Rosario can hit threes, he has a very decent shot at the 2-guard position. But I think Blyden's going to be a guy they rely on scoring-wise. A lot, especially as Kenny and Stokes have their off games because they're freshmen, right? I think the most important thing to look at with this thing is Tay Kenny actually 6'3", 6'4"? Because he tells me 6'3", 6'4". If he's actually 6'3", 6'4", I feel a little better at having 2 undersized guards. He at 6'3", 6'4", he's not undersized. He's just normal size for a point guard. I would be kind of surprised if Leroy is not starting just because I think he's the most ready scorer they have on the team right now. Like Stokes withstanding. I mean, obviously I expect Stokes to average like 18 a game or whatever. But you're right. The 2-guard position is interesting. The center position is interesting. Like those are the 2 matchups that I feel like are undefined on what could happen. The other ones kind of feel set on who has a starting role kind of locked down.
Yeah, for sure. And Stokes, he's going to have to be one of the best players in the country. But again, if Kenny is one of the best players in the country also, then you're a top 15 team easily because you got 2 guys right there. If Kenny is like I'm trying to think of who Kansas has had. Yeah, DeJuan. I mean, I think of like a guy like Nadir Tharp, who was an okay, serviceable point guard. Elijah Johnson, when he was a point guard his senior year, he was okay, but probably not a top 5 point guard in the Big 12. You need Kenny to be that guy. And he's a 5-star. There's no reason to think that he won't. And I also like the fact that he's played with Rosario. He's played with Stokes a lot. That's got to help.
100%. And I mean, look, Kenny's absolutely got to be that guy. At the bare minimum, I think you have to have him as like a Big 12 honorable mention type. Like that's the level you need to have from Kenny. And that's the things like with Kenny is like I've talked to a few different scouts about him, and everyone's kind of just like very like, well, we think he could be a first rounder, but we need to see it because like how much you quantify from that OTE league to what happens now is hard to predict. We saw it with Cole Rosario. We all thought he'd be a better shooter than he was. He showed promise at the end there, building off like the Big 12 tournament game, the NCAA tournament game. So Kenny's overall how good he is probably going to determine the ceiling of this team. But I mean, a guy like Dennis Parker Jr. coming off the bench, if he could play the guard role, because he was telling me he was trying to work on guard skills a lot. I think it can go tremendously well for KU to have a guy like him to kind of help out in spurts. He's taller, he's bigger, he's played like 1 through 4 at different points in his career. So yeah. Yeah,
no, I'm excited to see Parker's role too because he's kind of got the size and I think has similar skill set to like a guy like Rosario as a freshman year, but he has a lot more experience. And
100%.
I mean, a guy scored 50-something points in the game. So
53. He's a critical bucket.
Yeah, you got to like that. Dennis Parker Jr. coming over from Radford. And then the bigs, we touched on it a little bit. Paul and Bia, sign me up. I love this guy. Everybody loves what he said a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago when he said he's coming back. Hey, easy. No, it's from the heart. It's from the heart.
I got leaked by his manager. I mean, I appreciate him sending this thing, but that was a ChatGPT script.
Yeah, well, it still sounded great, man. It made me want to run through a wall. And Bia, we saw in the NCAA tournament that literally led to Coach Self saying with Greg Gurley after the victory over Cal Baptist, man, maybe I should have been playing him more. He came alive, and then he played pretty well against St. John's, too. excited to see him come back. Reeves, a guy who
We're living off 2 games.
Yes.
And I'm excited about him too.
Right, but you know who else is living off 2 games? All these guys who have March Madness lore.
This is true.
That are remembered for those 2 games, right? You never know. It could be important.
I believe in Paul Mbia.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to be solid for them. I don't know if he's going to be like. To me, that drop off from Flory to Paul or Flory to Christian is going to be so immense. Does it matter in the long run? Well, it's going to be determined by guys surrounding them, right? And that's why KU is looking at another big guy. Like we talked about it pregame, right? Like they're looking at Malik Evans from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's out of eligibility right now. I had texted with him a few days ago. He told me, "Yeah, I've been talking to Bill," which I thought was funny as hell. Like you usually hear like players say like, Coach Self, but he just said Bill. I was like, okay, I guess we're on that level here, But the thing about that is like I've heard from a source like KU's applied for a number like 50-year waivers for like different sports, and they keep on increasingly getting denied. So he's only played 3 college basketball Division I seasons and 1 JUCO, so he has a higher chance than Melvin Council. But I was told Melvin Council applied for the same thing, but it didn't really go anywhere, and that's why his focus has been the NBA. So he'd be an interesting get for them. I mean, a guy who averaged like 10 and 5.
Yeah. And you just had an article posted earlier this morning, Kansas City Star, talking about Malik Ewan and potential. It would be interesting because Kansas doesn't generally, I guess in today's day and age, go very deep at the big position. And again, Dawes is going to play 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
I think there's no doubt about that.
100%.
He and Reeves, both guys who 95+% rebound rate, both ends, which is absolutely massive. And Mbia should be that. And Stokes too.
Yes.
So what do you think is attractive if Kansas is actually going after, whether it is Ewan or another big?
Well, I think the thing is, is Christian Reeves going to be healthy, right? Like, is he going to be healthy? And it's just good to push some of these guys in the position. He's the most established big. If he's brought in, he's an established guy. He averaged 14 points a game for Florida State like 2 years ago. I know he had a down year at Arkansas last year, but he'd be a guy that honestly would probably soak up Paul Mbia's or Christian Reeves minutes, whoever's the worst of the two. And he would push these guys in the sense that maybe if KU wanted to play small, maybe they'll play him at the 5 spot at different times.
Yeah, who knows? But it would give options. Remember, Kansas, some of their best teams have had a lot of depth at the big position. Go back to 2008, they had pros up and down, but you had Darrell Arthur, Darnell Jackson, Cole Aldrich, and Sasha Khan all on that team. And a lot of those guys played, all of those guys played in the NBA at one point. So, yeah, great stuff. Give Shreyas a subscription. You can get a 99-cent for 1 month welcome offer. Kansas City Star. Check out all the insight that he's got. We've got more we want to get to regarding World Cup, but let's talk a little college football right now. Just wanted to know your thoughts right now on the quarterback battle for Kansas because we haven't checked in for a while. Next time we talk KU football with you will probably be, 6 weeks from now when we start hearing from the guys and get fall camp going. But talked a little bit earlier this week about how that's the big story, the Cole Ballard, Zeke Marshall. Chase Jenkins will probably be QB3. What do you make of that? Because
with Chase Jenkins, there is some level of he was getting first-team reps at the end of that spring ball is what I heard.
Okay, expand on that.
He played,
I know you kind of scoffed at his 1,000 pass yards.
Yeah, I'm not a big Chase Jenkins believer. But, look, he played really well. Like, I heard that I saw in the scrimmage too, but he was the best of the 3 in that scrimmage. And he was playing a lot better by the end of spring ball. So I think theoretically he could, if they are still in this midst of this race, he could insert himself more of a factor. That being said, I think the race probably comes down to Isaiah Marshall, Cole Ballard.
Yeah.
And right now, Cole Ballard has the slight edge. He apparently really knows the playbook really well. He's improved in that sense. He's the best arm of the 3. Isaiah Marshall has the best legs, but the consistency that you want to see is just not there. He's definitely improved, I've heard, from what he had last year, but there's a reason why Isaiah Marshall has had 2 seasons of being the backup to Cole Ballard.
So maybe that's how the question should be phrased is since what you just said is true and the fact that last year Cole Ballard was QB2 and Zeke was QB3, what does Zeke have to do to earn the starting job? Do you think right now is it still a 2-horse race? Is it a 3-horse race? Is it Ballard's job to lose?
I think it's a 3-horse race, but Cole Ballard has the edge over both of them. The thing is, I don't think it's a big enough edge where I can sit there and say Cole Ballard is winning the starting job. But tomorrow, if Kansas football was to play a game, I think Cole Ballard would be the starting quarterback. He's been impressive in knowing the playbook. The only thing about Cole Ballard is the ceiling of what he offers is not what Isaiah Marshall offers, right? But how much of that matters, I don't know, because now they have Andy Kotelnicki back at OC, and he can be really creative. And from what I've heard, he has been creative. Like, they have, like, Dylan Edwards lining up at receiver at times,
right,
and, like, kind of doing all these different crazy things. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some Wildcat. So the question of the matter is, do they need a quarterback that can do just the simple things, make the right pass, not turn the ball over? I think that's going to be the guy would be Cole Ballard. Or do they need a quarterback that can make the big play, might get you more yards or touchdowns or whatever, but also might have less risk averse than Cole Ballard would be.
Right.
And then if you go Chase Jenkins, it's, well, he has the most experience of the three, and he's also a heck of a runner, and his arm isn't bad either, but they just didn't really use him as a thrower at Rice.
Yeah.
I know the thing Kansas fans don't want to hear is Cole Ballard is a quarterback. Like, that's the one thing everyone's like, oh, it should be Isaiah Marshall. But the thing with Isaiah Marshall is he just hasn't shown the consistency for 3 years now in practice. Like, in game settings, it seems like he's done better. Like, he averaged 10 yards a carry when they brought him in, like, you know, as a second quarterback, right, in those games. But I think he's more of a player that shines in improv situations, in unstructured play, than somebody like Cole Ballard, where everything's structured, kind of stays in the pocket, goes through his progressions, goes through his reads. And Cole is not one of those guys who's, like, you know, super fast, but he's going to bulldoze. He's kind of a gamer in that situation.
In college basketball, there's two phrases I want to say. In college basketball, there's a phrase you say about a guy that doesn't have great NBA potential.
Yeah.
And that phrase is, he's a great college player.
Yeah.
In college football, regarding quarterback, a similar type deal, I think, is you say a guy is a game manager.
Yeah.
I have a comfort level with Cole Ballard because he's been out there as a true freshman. The dude, he balled out.
String walk on.
Yeah. He balled out against K-State and Texas Tech. I mean, he puts his head down and he runs. And I'm comfortable on that front. He came in last year when JD got hurt and threw a touchdown. I think the fact that he's been in the program obviously comes from a football family. I don't know. I've said I think Zeke's going to start throughout, but I'm not convinced that I won't change that because there are enough explosive players on this offense that I think as long as you get consistently good quarterback play, and you probably have a better percent chance of that happening with Ballard because he does have, well, not a ton, he does have more experience in the program and on the field than Marshall, but it goes without saying Marshall's going to be out there a bunch. I mean, I bet he touches the ball 6 or 7 times a game.
I mean, they should use it.
Yeah, I mean, he's not just a quarterback running. I mean, he was a good runner when he was out there.
100%. And candidly, with the Marshall thing, is I absolutely think he has a higher chance of starting because Andy Kotelnicki's back. He just seems like he's tailor-made for the Kotelnicki system and kind of tailor-made to play around his strengths. The question is, how much of that influence is what matters when the quarterback? I mean, like, from what I'd heard, Lance loved Cole Ballard, loves Cole Ballard. I had heard about this for years that Lance's guy was Cole Ballard. How much that has an influence into who the quarterback is, I have no idea. And how much Kotelnicki's influence into who the quarterback is, I also don't know. But I presume both of them are going to have a pretty significant say in who the quarterback is. And I wonder if it comes down to we're willing to run with the lumps with Isaiah Marshall. Maybe he doesn't know the playbook as well. Maybe he has the weakest arm of the three. But his legs are such a dangerous combination that it's just going to put us in a position to use our talented backs to get touchdowns, to get big home run plays, or use Isaiah Marshall in, like, creative situations, creative ways to amplify his strengths and hide his weaknesses. Yeah, that's great insight. Shreyas Laddha, Kansas City Star, joining us. Shreyas, in that article you posted earlier today, speaking on college football,
you have some thoughts on Brendan Sorsby. For anybody who hasn't had a chance to read it, let everybody know what you think about this. Of course, Sorsby, the Texas Tech quarterback, a judge in Lubbock recently granted him a temporary injunction to play after missing the first 2 games this upcoming season. Sorsby will play for Texas Tech, and this has led to a whole big deal where people are saying, well, we're not going to schedule Texas Tech in any sports. You got TCU and K-State commenting on it. You got Nebraska and Georgia saying we ain't scheduling them ever. I guess your thoughts on this, what have you heard? How do you see this kind of playing out as the months go on?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that he's able to play college football next year, and this crap of hiding behind mental health is ridiculous to me. If this was about mental health, he would not play college football. Actions have consequences. You should have, we can get into a whole other debate about reprimandation of punishment versus actual reprimanding of performing a person. That's something that I'm not going to get into on this day. But the same kind of attitude should apply with the Sorsby situation. What is a 2-game suspension going to do for a guy that was gambling
Nothing.
on his own team? Absolutely nothing. And to hide behind the mental health cloud, to me, is the weakest move I've seen Texas Tech pull. I think, and from what I've heard, Kansas is not very happy with this situation. Like every other college in the country, they're not happy. But the idea that they'll boycott or whatever, that's not going to happen. From what I gather, it's just too much money's at stake for them, for their TV partners, for all that other stuff. To boycott a game against Texas Tech or an athletic event against Texas Tech just seems a little too far-fetched at the moment. That being said, I mean, go look at who is on leadership for the Big 12. Chancellor Girard is right there up in the upfront, kind of having to have this discussion with athletic directors and other people who are important about Sorsby. And I know Brett Yormark kind of released a statement that was absolutely nothing, but that's corporate America special. Right. So that's Brett Yormark. But I mean, I think we're going to have a moment where this keels over to he's either not going to play a single down, and if he plays it down, we're going to have repercussions in the sense that the way college athletics is looked at and the rules and stuff like that in state will be changed forever. I think this is the tipping point of everything. Is the Sorsby situation. Do
you think this is the first time ever that NCAA member institutions are actually in alignment with the NCAA on this?
I mean, it's got to be. I mean, I don't know who's on Texas Tech's side.
Yeah.
I really have never seen a more unified front against a team.
Right.
The fact that Texas Tech had to release a ridiculous 20-minute video with their AD and Cody Campbell and this and that to talk about it, where they danced around the subject and how they've installed an app to track what he does. God.
Yeah.
Give it a breath, man.
Right.
It's ridiculous to me. And look, if Cincinnati knew about this, they should be held responsible just as like anybody else.
True.
And so should Indiana.
Have they said anything, Cincinnati?
I don't think so, but I heard the rumor that Cincinnati was the one who leaked it because they were pissed about how things went down. I don't know how true that is, but that's the rumor that I heard. And to me, I was talking to Nick about this on the Payee podcast yesterday. We, as reporters or as people who cover Kansas, there's no written law that says we can't bet on the things that we cover. But ethically speaking, we know so many more things than the general public knows. Even if we don't know everything, it's unethical for us to do that.
Right.
This kid clearly knew about when that person was sick or that was happening behind the scenes or who was injured because he's teammates this. He's privy to this confidential information. If tomorrow your friends ask you and you say, hey, is Darren Peterson going to play or not? Or is Tyron Stokes going to play or not? Even if you know the answer, you can't say it because ethically speaking, you're helping your friend profit off of something that you know insider information.
And even past the ethics part of it, you literally, as an athlete partaking in these games, are not allowed to do this.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
The writing is there. Yeah, you're not allowed to do this.
People in Iowa State were banned forever. Those guys at Iowa State were banned forever.
Right.
They had a whole investigation to it. They banned people from the New Orleans basketball team forever. Most of them.
For sure. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Who knows what's going to come of that? But that's been kind of a dark cloud, literally over the sports world here recently. And there's something Now there's a court case that's going to happen in February. It's like,
Yeah.
cool, that's going to matter. I mean,
But
who
that's
knows?
what I'm saying. Like, somebody asked me, is like, what if Texas Tech goes all the way to the national championship and they win it because it's the woe is us against them? And first of
Yeah.
all, this is the most ridiculous crap. You know they're going to act like they're like the victims of the situation.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
They already are.
Yeah.
And they're gonna
Yeah,
be like,
they are playing
it's us
victim.
against the world. Like they're a bunch of haters. Blah 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 blah. And say they like go and make a championship run and they win it all with Swearsby at quarterback. It is such a hollow. Are they going to just take away the wins? You can't
Right.
take away the wins. You can't
Right.
take away the championship. Come on.
Maybe.
Like, maybe they could, but, like, at that point, they've won it. Like, you can't
Right.
change the outcome of a season because they've out and done it.
Yeah. We're going to change the way we practice.
Yeah.
We're going to change the way we tackle. Shreyas Laddha, Kansas City Stars. Shreyas, I want to keep you around for another segment, talk NBA draft, but first a word on Rock Chalk Park last night. Really cool scene. I saw some of your coverage on social media of Algeria training out there and their fans. What was that like being out there?
Dude, the vibes were insane.
Yeah.
That's probably the most fun, like, event I've covered in a long time. Just so many people excited to be there. The Algerian, like, national team was very grateful and receptive to the fans there. The kids were having the time
I'm
of their
sure.
lives. Like, I had a couple of kids hand me their iPhone to go film from my
Yeah.
vantage point of the field point. So I did that. I interviewed a 10-year-old kid. I had a 6-year-old kid ask me for my autograph. And I had to
Really?
explain to him, I'm not anyone important.
Right,
And his
right.
mom just starts laughing. I'm like,
That's
I'm
so
just a
funny.
reporter. Like,
Yeah.
he was like, can you sign this? I'm like, I'm
Did you sign it?
No, I was like,
Yeah.
it was the Canadian flag. I was like,
Right.
that seems a little sacrilegious to sign a Canadian flag, with my signature. But it was really funny. And it was just like a really good vibe. And honestly, it got me in the fever for the World Cup. Like, I obviously will be watching America. India never makes anything, so I can't root for India also. So I'll be watching Algeria with interest. Then I'll
Yeah.
probably pick a European nation with some of my favorite players.
Yeah.
Because like this is like every 4 years is when I start caring about soccer again.
Totally. I was just talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
I was like, Olympics and World Cup. Yeah.
The vibes are just so good, man.
Yeah.
And like Lawrence has embraced Algeria. Like I think
Totally.
city has embraced a national team and.
It's become one of the best stories of the World Cup so far is
100%.
Lawrence embracing Algeria.
100%. And I think that's the beautifulness of it all, right? This college town that is just happy to bring in visitors from all over. Like people from, like, I found out the Olathe had the highest concentration of, like, Algerians in the country or something like
What?
that. Yeah, man.
That's crazy
Something
nugget.
like that, which is crazy. I
Yeah.
had no idea. They didn't know about it either. I asked
Yeah.
Butcher about it yesterday, who helped bring Algeria, and he was like, I had no idea, man. I was like, that's awesome. But it's so cool to kind of be around it, the hype, the excitement. I'm just excited to watch these World Cup games. I'm not a big soccer fan outside of playing a ton of FIFA growing up.
Yeah.
But the World Cup is the stuff that makes me excited. And like, it's kind of like the Olympics for me, where, it's the one time a year where I care about a bunch of sports I have no interest
Right,
in caring
right.
about. But it's because it's just pride,
Right,
Olympic
right.
pride. And
Yeah.
it kind of like the fun around
Yeah.
it.
It's fun, and for lack of a better way of putting it, after it's over, you kind of forget about it for 4 years, and then it comes back. But it's great when it comes back.
I said this on Twitter. It's like it's hard for me to like care about more sports because unfortunately I care about too many sports as is right now.
Yeah.
I watch it. Obviously I covered KU basketball and football, college football and basketball. Like I cover that. I watch that. A little bit, but not as much as I should. I watch a ton of NBA. I watch a ton of NFL. I watch the tennis Grand Slams.
Yeah.
I watch the Indian cricket team whenever they play international cricket. This thing. I'm like, the bandwidth for me to care about
Right.
sports is like low. Like I can't care about Premier League soccer. I just don't have enough time.
I know. Yeah, totally.
I
Totally.
want to get into it, but I just have no connection to it. And I was like, I'm going to be a Chelsea fan after I went to the Chelsea Stadium. That lasted a whole 6 months. But, I was like, oh, that's cool. But
Right.
the World Cup is special, and I think the hype is it. I mean, have you seen the tweet of the Korean fans, realizing they can't bring in alcohol to the stadium, so they're just taking shots.
Oh, seriously? Was
And
this
then
last
they
night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they share it with the Mexican fans, and they start drinking together
That's
and
so
stuff like
awesome.
that. But that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's so cool. They're just taking shots of
Yeah.
Dom Patrón or whatever.
Yeah,
And, they're
right.
having the time of their lives, man.
Right. It could have been soju. You ever had
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I thought soju's great.
Yeah.
I don't think it was soju though, because
Yeah,
it looked
okay.
like an American liquor. But soju's fantastic. I really like soju.
For sure. No, it's tasty, man. I'm a big
Yes.
fan. Not a lot of people know that. First, the soju reference here on Rock Chalk Sports. Hey, we're going to talk NBA draft as it relates to some Jayhawks and just the class in general with Shreyas Laddha. After this, more coming up. ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. Welcome back, Rock Chalk Sports. Sean Kellerman, Shreyas Laddha with you today as we're talking NBA draft. Got to tell you about our partners over at Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment. If you're hoping to find a hot deal on a new side-by-side, Can-Am is offering fresh deals for summer. You can save up to $1,500 on 2026 Can-Am Defender models at Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment. The Defender is a versatile side-by-side utility vehicle that's built to work hard and play hard, and Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment will give you their best deal with up to $1,500 off. This offer ends June 30th. For complete details and a great deal on a great new ride, see Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment in Lawrence. Shout out to Mike Hanna, one of our great sales staff here at Kansas Nation. Tris, I didn't even ask you before we kicked it to break. USA Paraguay tonight. Who you got?
Obviously, Team USA. Come on now.
Right. Got to go for it.
Obviously.
Get that 3 points, right?
Yeah.
They got to get that win.
Easy. I think they got to get out of the group. Like, that's all I care about. Like, get out of the group, make the quarters,
Get to the 32.
The round of 32, all that. Like, that's super, super important.
What was it? So it's 48 this year. Was it 32 in 2022? Or how many teams were there?
I could be wrong.
I think this is the biggest field.
Is it?
I'm going to turn to my friends over at Wikipedia. And, okay, so there were 64 matches in 2022, which I think there's 104. Yeah, there were 32 teams in 2022, so there's 48. I'm all about that, man.
Yeah,
Dan knows I hate. Give me a big bracket.
Yeah,
I don't care. Give me a big bracket.
I don't care about upsets or whatever. I just want more games being played.
So I'm exactly the same as you, and Dan's a hater on that front. But 76 teams in March Madness. We'll see how that goes. That'll be interesting. Do you think
I don't love it with March Madness.
You don't? Yeah.
But mostly because I don't care to watch some of these like
right.
I'm just trying to watch a 15-4 Auburn team. No disrespect to Auburn. But
I know. I know. But, and this is the argument I had with Courtright, there's 358 teams. You look at any other sport, the percentage of 76 for 358 is smaller than, I mean, baseball, baseball is pretty small too, but baseball, you got 12 of 30 going in. NBA, you've got 16 of 30, which really is 20 of 30. NHL, I think, has 16, something like that. So, I don't know. I like the more games. I'm interested to see, though, with the 76, the opening round or whatever it is they're calling it. That's the first 12 in my heart. They'll do Dayton, and then I think they'll do it at East Coast and a West Coast, which would be kind of fun.
Cool. Yeah. Not like it matters. Kansas is never going to be in that anyway.
Right. Yeah. So there's a plus. We thought about flirting with it a few years ago, but no, we were good. I remember the first time I realized 2 years ago, Kansas was never a bubble team, but the first time I realized, oh my God, if we keep losing, we might be a bubble team.
Yeah, when they ended up just like 8 seed or something like that.
7 seed. Yeah, I was like, is this like what is life?
Yeah,
we were an 8 seed back in I think 2000, the 2000 NCAA tournament. KU was an 8 seed, and they might have been 99, but players on that team then went to back-to-back Final Fours in 02 and 03. So this was when players would go to a school, and then they would get 4 years to play basketball at that school. They would start as a freshman, and then they'd be a sophomore, and then they'd be a junior, and then they'd be a senior, and they would be at the same school for all 4 of those years. So in some cases, the players would improve at the same school as their careers went on. It was the craziest thing.
I don't know. I can't imagine what that's like. In my time covering college sports, that's never occurred. So,
right. That's true. God, it's kind of crazy how long the NIL transfer portal has been around now. It feels like it's still new, but really it's been here for 6 years or whatever. NBA draft is coming up the 23rd and 24th of June. You're going to go up to the city that never sleeps. You got big plans?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully get to the Barclays Center.
Get to the Barclays Center in one piece. Hopefully not sleeping. Network a little bit. I mean, candidly, I love New York. Every time I'm in New York, I don't want to leave New York.
Let's hear it for New York.
That's my dream city. You know, I mean, I would like to not get caught up in the fray of everything going on with the Knicks and stuff.
Oh my
like
God,
that.
right?
That's a little nuts. But
any chance they blow this lead?
I would love for it to happen, but after San Antonio blew a 29-point lead, I think unfortunately that series is over.
Yeah,
they might win one more, and then the Knicks will probably win in 6.
There's like not enough. Is this the right word? Volatility with the Knicks?
Yeah.
There's not enough up and down. They're just the same guys.
Yeah.
They're all like 30 and they're all pretty good players.
Yes.
Like there's not enough if they're bad, they're really bad.
Yes.
And that's why I think they won't lose 3 straight.
Even when they're like really bad, they somehow come back because they just don't like lose their head.
It's the same thing against the Cavs. It was ridiculous.
Yep. They did it like 3 times against the Spurs. The Spurs have blown 3 games.
The worst.
2 games at least, yeah.
which was the more embarrassing loss? I mean, 93-71, the Cavs. There was only like 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
That probably mathematically
That's really
was more
bad.
unlikely.
That's really, really bad.
Because at least they had almost a full half against.
The 29 is the worst
Oh my
ever
God.
loss in the NBA Finals.
Maybe what was more amazing stat is that Spurs scored 76 in the first half and
Yes.
hung a 30 burger. 30 burger in the second half.
Yes, which is so bad.
Yeah. Anyway, NBA draft. So let's start with just the class as a whole. Maybe fit in Tyron Stokes, because I heard something, I may have said this, where Stokes would be number 6 in this upcoming class. A very strong class. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. What excites you about this? And is it just top heavy, or you think it's deep 60?
It's definitely top heavy.
Yeah.
I think the first 6 or so picks, I think the tiers go first 4 really, and first 3 are really seen as like potential superstars. Darren, AJ, Cameron. After that, 3 through 6, where it's like Darius Acuff, Kate Wagler, Caleb Wilson.
Yeah.
Like those are kind of the second tier. And then after that, it's kind of like pick your poison how you have them tiered. The issue with the draft is it's not as deep as it would be previously, because now a lot of these guys who are probably second rounders in a normal draft decided to come back for another year.
Yeah.
Because they want to play, they make more money playing college
They-
basketball.
That's the word. Yeah.
And that's guys who are feeling like late first, some of those things too. So if you have a top 15 pick or a top 10 pick, you feel good about where you stand.
Right.
After that, it's like, well, I hope your scouting department is good, because you're going to be picking some guys from overseas, to fill out your roster. But the hype around this draft is the first like 5 or 6 guys could all be like stars. Reality says they'll be lucky to have 2 out of the 6 that end up being stars, just based on the numbers. But like if whatever the iteration of DeBonza, Peterson, Boozer, Wilson it is, and I think Wilson is squarely 4th. I expect at least 2 of those guys to be stars.
Yeah.
I don't know who. I think it's Darren and then somebody else.
I think Wilson would be a number 1 pick a lot of years.
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
because
yeah. Definitely
were you
some
in Chapel
leader.
Hill? I forget for that game.
No, I wasn't. He was really
Okay.
good though.
Oh my
game.
God!
He was nuts.
He was shooting like KD
He
and
was
kind
nuts.
of built like him. So yeah,
Yes.
he's going to be good. Acuff, a little bit undersized, as is Michael
Yes.
Brown. For what it's worth, all the flack, and we're in it here in Lawrence with KU basketball. We hear it from every angle, the flack that KU players take, and certainly Peterson took a lot last year for being injured. Louisville fans absolutely hate Michael Brown Jr.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
Have you seen? I mean, like any comment you see, they call him a sellout because he didn't play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
We're so stuck in our own world, we don't realize other programs have problems
Yes,
too.
yes.
So they hate him. But he's projected to be a top 10. Wilson is the guy that I think is probably, this would be the year where 2 out of 6 would be most likely to be 4 out of 6, because
100%.
Boozer doesn't, kind of like I was talking about with the Knicks, he doesn't have a floor that's too low. I think he's going to do
100%.
something.
He's
and
pretty
then,
steady, but I don't think his
Yeah.
ceiling is as high as the other 2
yeah,
guys
for sure,
ahead of him.
for sure. So that's interesting. ESPN, their most recent NBA draft, has Adai Mara going 10th. That would be a dumb pick.
Yeah.
If Braden Burry's still like
Yeah.
Braden Burry's gives me like Steph Castle
He's
vibes.
nice. He's really good.
But there's just a ton of good players. Bennett Sturts is down there, and Chris Sinak Jr. We have to wait and see. But talk about Peterson and DeBonza. Peterson was the odds-on favorite literally until
Probably February.
yeah,
February.
I mean the Oklahoma State gaffe that had Stephen A. Smith gabbing and everything, that kind of flipped it, because while all of that was kind of going on here, and Peterson did eventually play consistently the rest of the way for Kansas, but during that kind of mess and everything on the outside getting louder, DeBonza just kept going out and balling out.
And
So
he was playing crazy minutes. He
Yeah.
wasn't asking me to take out. I mean, like, Darren clearly just played through his injuries or his cramping
Absolutely.
stuff the rest of the year. I mean, his camp told me that. I heard that from KU source too recently. So like, that's whatever. But it seems like the pick for number 1 is a lot closer than this thing. Like, I've talked to a lot of different people I trust in the industry, from scouts to people like draft evaluators like Jeremy Wu to Sam Bassini, et cetera. And everyone's kind of like, Washington is playing it close to ear. Like, they have not leaked anything of, like, do they prefer AJ, do they prefer Darren, like, and Utah's kind of doing the same thing. Like, both of those teams, like, could go a lot of different directions, and I don't think Darren is completely out of play for Washington. I've heard his medicals have kind of cleared for the most part. It's just the stuff we already knew about. Nothing has been red flagged or anything. I had an NBA source tell me they don't have a lottery pick, but they were looking intensely at Darren because they potentially could have had a lottery pick. They green flagged Darren for his health, like based on what they knew this season and stuff like that. The biggest question mark surrounding Darren is like, what do his teammates think of him? That's what all scouts ask me. Is like, I had a Utah front office member ask me about like, what do his teammates think? What does Bill Self think about him? And I was talking to a source about this the other day, and the answer to that question is it depends on who you ask, which teammate you ask. There was definitely some frustration from teammates and players because Darren wasn't always available. But at the same time, a lot of them had his back when I talked to them about it in the locker room. And I think they got it because they were also there when he was collapsing and having to go to the hospital and stuff like that. But I'm not going to sit there and name names, but I think there were definitely some teammates that were frustrated for the situation overall because it affected their entire season.
Yeah. Interesting, because one thing that's true, honestly, as we're kids, as we're growing up, but even as we're adults, like we want to play.
Yes.
So that's the one thing. You're upset because your chances of winning a basketball game are worse when he does not play, but you get to play a lot more,
yes.
And those are the two things that are important is winning, well, now money, winning money and getting a chance to play. Any chance that this would be unprecedented, but Utah's at 2.
Yeah.
Any chance they try to throw some package at
I
Washington
wouldn't be surprised.
because they love DeBonta, they want to keep him and whatever. What is Utah? That's
Utah
the what
side,
state?
I'd heard from a source that like everyone knows the connection that Danny Ainge has with BYU and their owner has with BYU and DeBonta and all those others. I mean, heck, I saw it firsthand. Danny Ainge was like yapping it up with DeBonta's parents and hugging them and all that. That being said, that's not mentioned in meetings. Like, it's not talked about when they're looking at personnel. Like, these personal relationships, when you're giving them millions of dollars, are not as important as sometimes we make them out to be.
Yeah.
They come into a factor, but they're not like this all-encompassing factor that will push them to go with AJ over Darren even if they think Darren is a better player or Bruiser or whoever. I definitely think they're going to make a package. I had a scout tell me the same thing. They expect them to make a package. The Wizards are not going to trade, though, because unless it's a package that's crazy, they've been bad for like 3 years now, and they finally get the number 1 overall pick. They're not going to trade. They're going to just trust whatever their scouting department says, whoever's a better player or whatever they believe is a better player, and go from there.
Yeah. I'll give you $1 billion if you can tell me the state nickname for Utah.
Utah? Oh, my God. Mormon.
The Beehive State.
The Beehive.
What? Who would have thought it? Yeah, I don't know. Shrey Haslata, Kansas City Star, joining us talking NBA draft. Okay. We feel confident. Peterson's going to go in the top 2, and who knows if it turns into like an Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers thing. We'll have to wait and see. But what can you tell us about some of the other guys who were Jayhawks last year and moving on professional opportunities-wise, Trey White, Melvin Council, et cetera? Do they have a chance to G League overseas? What do you think?
I mean, I think they have a shot to be NBA players. They could be like G League guys or like two-way contracts. I recently talked to a source that I got their entire list of teams that they went to, and they've been to a ton of teams and visited. Like, I don't even, like, one of the, like, Melvin's been to, both of them actually went and worked out with the Kings and the Nets together, which kind of goes hand in hand with what I've heard from another source. They also worked out together at the Wizards. So these lottery teams are bringing in Melvin and Trey to talk about Darren Peterson alongside checking them out.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. They're doing their due diligence. But I think they have a shot at the second round. I mean, I think when you get to the second round, it becomes like, is it better that you get drafted, or is it better that you have your pick of your team?
Yeah.
And it kind of depends on your agent and kind of what they're hearing and what they're talking. I expect maybe one of them to get drafted, but both of them will get picked up as undrafted free agents, and they'll go play summer league or whatever, and then we'll see what happens with them from there.
Yeah, and KansasNation.com will have your coverage for that. Hopefully those guys get an opportunity. Obviously both beloved here at KU. Melvin Council is going to always be remembered in a positive light. You wish they would have shot the ball better in the postseason, but that's how it goes sometimes. Fun one for you here, because you mentioned the Wizards, and I think I was talking with somebody earlier this week about this. the franchise in your lifetime. I want you to give baseball also. Baseball, NBA, NFL. The franchise that careers go to die, because the Wizards have been bad for a long time.
Charlotte used to be pretty bad.
Oh my God,
It was really bad.
Wow.
New Orleans for a few. New Orleans.
Yeah, because New Orleans was like with Charlotte. The Kings.
The Kings. Oh God, the Kings are really, really bad.
God.
Like the Wizards have never had a 50-win season. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah.
That is embarrassing.
No, they've never had a 50-win season.
Yeah.
I'd have to like double check. I think maybe like even that one year when they lost the Celtics in the second round with John Wall and they hit on Kelly Olynyk because he went off in Game 7.
Yeah.
That was the peak of Wizards fandom.
Right.
Besides Michael Jordan playing for them.
That's true. And Paul Pierce, hitting a game winner for them once.
Yes.
The Cavs before the LeBron era were
really bad.
Unbelievable. I mean, the Nets now are awful.
Oh,
but there's a bad one. Baseball. Oakland. They're terrible.
But at least they had Moneyball. They got Moneyball.
They had Moneyball.
Right?
Yep.
Tampa Bay used to be really bad too back in the day.
Oh God.
Tampa Bay used to be really bad.
Now they went to the postseason in 07. The Rockies.
The Rockies were really bad besides the 07 postseason appearance.
Yeah.
But they've been horrible since then, it feels like.
If I'm an MLB player, I don't. It's hard now because they moved from Oakland, but that would have been my choice because I don't want to go to Oakland and that franchise is terrible. The stadium is terrible. Tampa Bay, at least you're in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's true.
There's something to be said for that.
And that ballpark's kind of ugly, but Tampa Bay's nice.
Colorado, at least you're in a cool city.
Yes, yeah. 100%.
There's that. NBA.
Oakland's a cool city. I will say Oakland's a cool city. I like Oakland. I mean, but
I only ran through once. Yeah.
The Bay is fun. I mean, as long if you like the Bay, you'll like Oakland. If you don't like the Bay, you're not gonna like Oakland.
NBA, we talked about it earlier. I mean, there's never really a reason to go to Cleveland.
God,
so I don't.
That's a big fear of mine.
Yeah, having to go there. Charlotte, at least you're close to the ocean. Yeah. Same with Sacramento, I guess, but that's pretty bad.
To be honest with you, I don't love the idea
Jazz.
I mean, Salt Lake City's got pretty mountains.
Yeah,
and they're like competent front office, and they usually make the playoffs most years outside of the past few years.
Right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
There's that. All right, NFL, last one.
Cleveland.
It's Cleveland. The Browns.
It's Cleveland. The Browns are like where it is the worst. It's probably Cleveland.
The Jets are knocking on that door, man.
Yeah, the Jets are up there.
But you're in New York.
But at least you get to be in New York.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Carolina was pretty bad for a few years there.
Oh God, yeah. Man, Bryce Young. From the top rope.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
I'm trying to think what else. Like what else in the NFL, man? Honestly.
The NFL's pretty solid.
Pretty cut and dry.
Like there's some that.
Arizona's really bad. Right now,
it's bad.
Just say, somebody,
what a gorgeous city.
Beautiful city. I said somebody say to me, man, the Rams are doing all this to stop Carson Beck and the Cardinals. I was like, yeah, man, sure.
Right. Jeremiah Love. Something.
Which also, I don't understand why they did that. Like, we can get into the whole debate. But why they picked up Tyler Jarrett? They have Jeremiah Love. They also have Trey Benson. And they also have James Conner. Like, why do they have three starting caliber backs and then old man James Conner on the team?
Right. Yeah. Who knows? It's crazy. The Browns logo, also the worst in the league.
Oh, it's horrible.
Have you seen the meme, or I don't know if it's just zoomed in on the helmet or whatever? It's a rabbit pushing a shopping cart.
No.
Take a really close look at the Browns logo next time you look. And if you look at it, it's like one of those optical illusions.
Really?
If you look at it, it legitimately looks like...
Oh my God!
Because the face mask is a shopping cart,
a
rabbit pushing a shopping cart. It's crazy, but the dumbest logo. Probably the worst town. I know Dan had a good time. He went and saw the Stones in Cleveland.
Who's ever said they wanted a vacation in Cleveland?
Nothing there.
Like Joakim Noah out here.
Nothing there. Yeah, no, that's brutal. Shreyas Laddha, Kansas City Star. What do you have coming up coverage-wise? We've got World Cup. We've got NBA drafts.
Yeah,
whole 9 yards.
That, whatever pops up, I'll be there. I got some Royals coverage Sunday. I almost forgot about that.
Nice. Cool. I love it. Shreyas Laddha, Kansas City Star. Thanks for the extended time today, my man. And hey, we will USA. Tonight, right?
Absolutely.
More coming up here on Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City and watching on KansasNation.com. Sean Kellerman back here for Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City, KansasNation.com. If you missed anything from the show, check us out on YouTube after the show at the Kansas Nation. Also, we are at the Kansas Nation, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Kansas Nation on Facebook as well. KansasNation.com. If you visited KansasNation.com or checked us out on one of those social media outlets, you would see some reels, some videos. Last night, Team Algeria over at Rock Chalk Park doing some training session. Of course, their first game will be on Tuesday in Kansas City against Argentina. But Shreyas was mentioning this a little bit earlier. It's incredible how much the Lawrence community has embraced Team Algeria. Algeria has come to Lawrence, of course, random spot to them in the middle of the United States. And I feel like they've felt at home to the point where it's become a national scene. Things have blown up nationally. One of the feel-good stories of the World Cup is how much Lawrence has embraced Algeria and how Algeria has fit right in. Of course, you saw them yesterday. They kind of did a tour of campus, at least for the sports facilities, as Algeria went over to Hoagland Ballpark. They got some shots up at Allen Fieldhouse and, of course, kicked some field goals at David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. And again, shout out to KU's athletic department for being so welcoming and making sure that Algeria feels at home. The coolest thing I saw was the fact that the KU band learned the Algerian national anthem and played it for them last night at the training session at Rock Chalk Park to help them feel more at home. So just incredible. And yeah, they're going to be big underdogs against Argentina. And, you know, if they advance far in this tournament, it'll be a feel-good story because not a lot of people expect it. But it's happened before where a team has gone on a Cinderella run. And how cool would it be? How awesome is it that here in Lawrence, we kind of have our own little team that we can cheer for, our own little country, in addition, of course, to the United States. Really, really special. And again, any Algeria coverage as it relates to being here in Lawrence, we've got for you on Kansas Nation. USA against Paraguay tonight. USA are favorites, and I'll give a few of the DraftKings odds. Of course, in soccer, it's a situation you're not going to score a lot of goals. It's a 90-minute game. Then you'll have a few minutes of extra time. Generally, the over-under in a soccer game in the World Cup is 2.5. You're either going to have 2 goals or 3 goals, and that was actually the situation last night in the 2 games that we saw. World Cup-wise, United States, again, not a favorite. I'll get you the updated odds right now on where the USA is, but they are favorite, if you will, tonight against Paraguay. But, of course, there's a chance that it could be a draw as well. USA is plus 110. Paraguay is plus 285. It's plus 220 to get a draw. So there's that opportunity. These 2 teams have faced each other in friendlies in the past, and we'll have to see what happens. There's 4 games tomorrow: Qatar and Switzerland, Brazil and Morocco, Haiti and Scotland, and Turkey and Australia. Those games are at 2, 5, 8, and 11, respectively. A little bit earlier today was Canada and Bosnia, and then USA and Paraguay, the nightcap here in a few short hours. In terms of goal scorers for the United States, here are some of the odds on that front. Christian Pulisic is most likely to score, according to DraftKings, plus 250. Also, plus 250. A couple other players, including Ricardo Pepi and Haji Wright for Paraguay. So, can the USA start off on a good foot, as a couple teams did last night? Of course, you get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and nothing for a loss in pool play. You advance out of pool play, you get to the elimination round, 32 teams. Again, 48 teams this year in the 2026 World Cup. Take a quick peek back at last night. Yesterday, in general, there were 2 matches on day 1 of the World Cup. Mexico took care of South Africa 2-0 as Mexico got a couple goals, one from Julian Quinones, and one from Raul Jimenez. Mexicans had no issue taking down the team from South Africa. And then a great one last night. I mean, absolutely great television. South Korea knocking down the Czech 2-1. I mentioned Czechia had taken the 1-0 lead, and it looked like they were going to be in good shape. In fact, looked like they were going to be in good shape twice as they led 1-0. Again, it was scoreless tie at halftime. They got a corner kick headed in from Krejci, I think is how you pronounce it, to go up 1-0 in the 59th minute. But then Korea would a couple times attack the goal and score. There was another situation actually when it was 1-1 where Czech looked like they were going to come up with a goal and they were unable to do it. So, Korea, very happy. They get the 3 points for picking up the victory last night. And now they're in good shape, as is Mexico. That all is action taking place in Group A. 4 teams. You have 2 who got 3 points because it was an outright winner in both of them, Mexico and South Korea, and then no points for Czechia and the South African team. So a lot to get to. Of course, Saturday you're going to have more of a full slate, but today the focus is on USA and opportunity to start off on the right foot. Went through Algeria's schedule in the World Cup yesterday, so I think it'd be fair to go through United States schedule. Of course, it all starts tonight against Paraguay at 8 o'clock. The other pool play matchups for the United States, Friday at 2. So next week at 2 o'clock, the U.S. is going to take on Australia. And then it'll be Thursday, June 25th, the U.S. will take on Turkey. So opportunities for the United States here right away to get some points in their group stage. And for argument's sake, or I guess for stats' sake, I'll let you know where everybody is at in terms of the U.S. opponents, in terms of potential success that they have according to the prognosticators. Get the DraftKings odds for Turkey and for Australia, the later opponents for the USA. USA, again, they've faced Paraguay before, but not with these kind of stakes in the World Cup. USA right now, as these have been adjusted just a little bit, plus 6,000 to win the World Cup. Turkey, one of the USA's opponents, plus 9,000, and Australia is plus 60,000. So you're facing a team in Paraguay tonight that is plus 30,000. That being said, USA is a small favorite tonight. The 3 teams the USA faces, according to the odds on DraftKings, USA should be victorious against, should at least get some points. You'll feel a lot better, as South Korea and Mexico did yesterday, if you're able to hang a 3 on the board by winning outright against Paraguay. But to recap, the 3 opponents plus the USA, who's plus 6,000. You've got Paraguay, who they face tonight, at plus 30,000 to win it all. And then you've got Turkey at plus 9,000 and Australia at plus 60,000. Those are the 3 teams that the USA will be facing. For what it's worth, Algeria, shorter odds than 2 of those teams, as they are plus 35,000 to win the World Cup. Again, odds on favorites to win the Cup. Spain is plus 450. They have not played yet, of course. France is plus 475. England plus 750, Portugal plus 800, Brazil is plus 950, and Argentina is plus 1,000. Nobody else has shorter odds than that, as Germany plus 1,400 is next on the list. So the World Cup, again, important for the United States to get one tonight against Paraguay, as that 3 on the board would be very, very important. But been so cool watching everybody here in the Lawrence area support Algeria, as a lot of their fan base, kind of incredibly, a lot of their fan base made their way here to the center of America, and Lawrence has welcomed them with open arms. Shout out to the KU band, the KU athletic department, for helping these guys feel welcome, getting shots up at Allen Fieldhouse, and so much more. It's been really cool to see. Hey, after this, we're going to update you on a lot of things going on in the world of KU athletics. We got women's basketball stuff. We got KU baseball having guys honored. We got some track and field news, as well as Kansas continues to excel on that front, and some Royals chatter as well. That's all coming up next here on Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City, kansasnation.com. Central Bank and Sporting Kansas City are bringing their Soccer Capital of America pop-up shops to communities across the metro. Stop by select Central Bank locations for discounts on official tournament merchandise, soccer games, giveaways, and the chance to get the limited edition Soccer Capital of America debit card. This Friday's pop-up shop has been over at Central Bank's West 6th Street branch here in Lawrence, and you can view the full schedule of pop-up shops and get your Soccer Capital of America debit card by visiting soccercapitalkc.com. More soccer, more spirit, only at Central Bank. Member FDIC. KU Soccer, of course, hosting Algeria here over at Rock Chalk Park, but they had some news of their own come out little bit earlier today, as they have announced the 2026 schedule. It was a record-breaking season last year for head coach Nate Lee, who recently signed a 5-year extension. KU went to the Sweet 16, and as I said, today they announced their schedule. The schedule features 8 contests at Rock Chalk Park and 11 Big 12 conference games. Nate Lee says, quote, "We're excited about the challenges that await us in the 2026 season. Last season was an important step forward for our program and showed what this team is capable of achieving," end quote. Hawks are going to play 9 matches at Rock Chalk Park, including 1 exhibition match and 11 games on the road. KU is going to open up the season on August 12th, hosting Utah State. The next 4 matches will be on the road, starting off on August 16th at Missouri State. The Jayhawks will conclude non-conference play with a rematch of the 2024 NCAA tournament first round game at St. Louis on September 12th. Kansas then going to begin conference play back here, or on the road. They'll start conference play technically at Cincinnati on September 18th. They're going to conclude Big 12 play, hosting Texas Tech on November 5th. Soccer season ends a little bit earlier than the other fall sports, so they'll have the final regular season game on November 5th. Then, of course, will be the 2026 Big 12 soccer tournament, location to be announced at a later date. Quarterfinals will be on November 9th, semifinals November 11th, and the championship match will be held on November 14th. Last year, I mentioned KU went to the Sweet 16. Historic season in general, 16-6-3. KU advanced to the third round of the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16, the current format. For just the third time in program history, KU also ended the year number 10 in RPI and ranked number 13 in the final U.S. Soccer Coaches Poll. The Jayhawks set a new single-season record in goals with 51, corner kicks with 172, and points with 154. The 16 wins were also the 4th most in school history. Coach Lee said also after this schedule was released, quote, "After advancing to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament a year ago, our group understands the importance of approaching each match with focus and determination. We look forward to embracing that challenge and competing against a strong schedule," end quote. It'll be the 32nd season of women's soccer when Kansas opens in 2026. Some other schedule notes from specific standpoint. The exhibition match is going to be August 8th at Rock Chalk Park. 19 total regular season matches and 1 exhibition match on the 2026 schedule. There are 8 regular season games at Rock Chalk Park. The season opener, in terms of regular season, is August 12th against Utah State. The conference home opener, after KU opens on the road at Cincinnati on September 18th, will be September 24th against Arizona State. So you get to see these girls out in action August 8th against Iowa in an exhibition, and then August 12th, Utah State, Rock Chalk Park as well. September 24th, you'll open the conference season against ASU. 8 opponents on the schedule for Kansas soccer made the NCAA tournament in 2025, Utah State being one of them. Ohio State, Utah Valley, Baylor, Colorado, BYU, TCU, and Texas Tech, a very strong Big 12 conference. 5 Big 12 opponents at home, ASU, Arizona, Iowa State, BYU, and Texas Tech. And 6 Big 12 opponents on the road are as follows: Cincinnati, Baylor, K-State, Colorado, TCU, and Houston. So you don't get K-State at home this year, so perhaps some Jayhawk faithful can get over to Manhattan and support them there. Non-con opponents include opponents from the Pac-12, Conference USA, Big Ten, Mid-American, the WAC, American, Summit League, and the Atlantic 10. Matches will be played in 6 states for KU soccer this upcoming season. It's going to be the first meeting in program history, actually, against that MAC opponent, Kent State. Broadcast and promotional schedules are going to be released prior to the start of the season. But what a successful 2025 for head coach Nate Lee, one of the great hires that Travis Goff has had. You know, we talk about Matt Ulmer, and we've talked a lot about the National Coach of the Year, according to Perfect Game, Dan Fitzgerald, but Nate Lee is right up there. Record crowd showed up last year at Rock Chalk Park to support the team. 3 of the top 5 attendances in Rock Chalk Park history were recorded last season, including 2,613 fans for the NCAA tournament first round match against Cal Baptist. So be on the lookout. Again, season tickets, kuathletics.com/tickets. That will be announced very shortly. Want to support Nate Lee and the KU soccer program. Kansas women's basketball yesterday, of course, released their schedule matrix for the Big 12 as they will take on K-State, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State each twice in the upcoming season. But how about this news that come out today regarding KU women's basketball? Zakiya Franklin joining the Kansas staff as a grad assistant. You'll remember her from her playing days here just a few years ago. Coach Brandon saying, quote, "Our program is thrilled to have Zakiya back on campus and part of our coaching staff. I'm confident our players will take advantage of the opportunity to learn from an all-time great while leaning on her for advice and mentorship," end quote. Some numbers from Zakiya Franklin, who had the nickname Buckets. Number 6 all-time leading scorer in KU women's basketball history. She scored 1,927 career points. She played from 2020 through 2024. One of the most decorated players in school history. She earned all Big 12 honors 3 different times, including a first-team selection in 2023. She was also a 2-time academic All-Big 12 selection. Franklin was named to the Big 12 All-Freshman team in 2020 and was also a Big 12 Player of the Week at one point during her tenure. Back in 2019, when she was being recruited, she was a 4-star prospect ranked number 77 in the country. Hawks went to 2 NCAA tournament appearances and won the 2023 WNIT championship. She also, in addition to being 6th all-time in scoring at KU, graduated as the program's all-time leader in games, 154 minutes, 5,106, and she ranked 3rd in career assists with 504, 6th in free throws made with 410, and 8th in both field goals with 690 and threes with 137. In the 2023 season, Franklin led the Hawks in scoring with 15.7 points per game, set the single-season school record for both free throw percentage at 87.8% and three-point percentage at a ridiculous 49.5%. She played professionally 1 year in Lisbon, Portugal, before she returned home to do nonprofit work with the Boys and Girls Club for the past year. She's from Lakeland, Florida. Zakiya Franklin returning to Kansas to be an assistant coach of the Kansas women's basketball program. Franklin said, quote, "You never truly leave a place that holds your heart. Returning to Kansas has felt like a complete circle. I am thrilled to be back and ready to learn and evolve as a coach. It's a wonderful opportunity to share the knowledge and experiences I gained as a former player by giving back to the next generation," end quote. So good on the KU women's basketball program and Zakiya Franklin for finding her next step. And that's a part of the KU women's program that, as we documented yesterday, very much so will have high expectations for this upcoming season. You're bringing back 2 potential first-team All-Americans, honestly, and Samaya Nichols and Jalea Davis. Last year of eligibility for Nichols, Davis will be just a sophomore, but she proved her worth many times over last year. You've got talented rising sophomores like Tatiana Brown and Libby Fandel, a very, very talented transfer class coming in. Plus, you return somebody like Reagan Williams, who's been in the program for quite some time, somebody like Brittany Harshaw, same could be said about her. And Kansas, of course, bringing in a talented freshman class as well, highlighted by center Sydney Bryant, who will play both basketball and volleyball here at KU. She, a McDonald's All-American on the basketball side. Other piece of news from KU athletics, a couple of them actually. KU baseball, we've learned a lot recently about the success of Tyson LeBlanc and the recognition he's gotten in the postseason. Well, that's continuing, and a couple of his teammates learning that they earned national postseason honors today as well. LeBlanc, as well as Augusto Mungarieta and Bodie Ray, all earning postseason awards from various national outlets. LeBlanc received first-team All-American honors by Perfect Game a little bit earlier this week, second-team All-American from the NCBWA, third-team All-American by ABCA and Rawlings, and ABCA Rawlings Central All-Region First Team. Augusto and Bodie were each voted to the ABCA Rawlings Central All-Region Second Team. LeBlanc, 6th first-team All-American in Kansas history and the first in 20 years since Donnie Ches did it back in 2006. He's from Maurice, Louisiana, of course, one of the many talented guys that Coach Fitz has brought in since he's been here. And it goes without saying, he has etched his name in the Kansas record books many times. 25 home runs this season, set the single-season record, was a part of the team that set the single-season record as a team in terms of home runs. LeBlanc started every game at shortstop for Kansas, hit up and down the lineup most of the time leading off for KU. He hit .341, 87 hits, 12 doubles, 69 batted in, 64 runs, 38 walks, plus 11 steals for LeBlanc. He had 180 total bases, which was the second most in a season in KU history. LeBlanc, 7th in the nation with those 180 total bases, tied for 8th in the nation with those 25 bombs, and tied for 24th in the country with 69 batted in, 25th nationally with 87 hits. LeBlanc was an all Big 12 first-team selection. He was named NCBWA District 6 Co-Player of the Year, a Dick Hauser Trophy semifinalist, and the NCBWA National Hitter of the Month for May. He also, of course, won Most Outstanding Player in both the Big 12 tournament and the Lawrence Regional. Augusto started 55 games for Kansas in their 63-game slate in 2026. He hit .292. He slugged .584. He had 13 doubles, 17 homers, 50 batted in. He led the team in hit by pitches as well with 15. Second on the team with that .584 slugging percentage. And 17 homers was second on the team as well to LeBlanc's 25. His 17 homers, by the way, tied for 5th most single season in KU history. He's from Carabobo, Venezuela, was named to the Big 12 All-Tournament team after going 6 for 13 with 2 homers and 5 RBIs. In that, he had multiple hits in all 3 games in surprise for KU. We know how good Bodie Ray was this past season, one of the key pieces to success of KU, particularly the pitching staff all season. He started a couple games, but mainly was serving as the fireman/closer for KU. Working out of the pen in high leverage situations, he was 6-1, 11 saves was Bodie, 4.27 ERA, 80 strikeouts in just 59 innings, and he only had 21 walks. Ray, a native of Marion, Iowa, led the Big 12 with his 11 saves this season. That was tied for 14th in the country and tied for 6th in KU history. 31 appearances, tied for 3rd in the Big 12 and tied for 12th nationally. He threw more than 1 inning as well in 22 of his 31 appearances. So great stamina from Bodie Ray. LeBlanc, I mentioned his numbers earlier. He's the 17th All-American in school history. And all 3 of these guys, LeBlanc, Mungarieta, and Ray, 28th, 29th, and 30th ABCA All-Region honorees in program history. KU coming off an absolutely fantastic season where they not only won the Big 12 regular season, but won the Big 12 tournament, hosted and won the Lawrence Regional, and hosted a Lawrence Super Regional as well. First time ever a Super Regional has been hosted here in Lawrence, and the first time ever the Kansas program has been to a Super Regional. Those 3 guys that were honored a little bit earlier today, a big reason for the success of Kansas baseball. One more update on the KU side of things. KU track and field. Emma Jumatai, earlier today, doing what she does. She broke 2 school records on day 2 of the NCAA Outdoor Championships. I'll give you the specifics of that. She was the highlight of the day yesterday and into today. She qualified for finals in both the 800 meters and the 1,500 meters while breaking her own school record, both events at Hayward Field in Eugene. Jumatai began her championship run by competing in the first heat of the 1,500-meter run. She was in the middle of the pack through most of the race, but when the lead group began to separate, she followed. She ended up finishing 6th in the heat with a new personal best time of 4:08.33, breaking her previous record by 27 hundredths of a second. She didn't earn the automatic qualifier, but her time was the fastest amongst non-auto qualifiers and faster than the entire second heat, which advanced her to the finals. And then not even 2 hours after that, after running 1,500, she raced in the 800-meter run. She let the pack control the pace for most of the race, but then she kicked it into a new gear in the final 300 meters, closed a multiple stride gap, passed 4 runners in the process of doing that. She won the heat with a new personal best and new school record time of 1:59.62. The race marked the second time Jumatai broke the 2-minute barrier in her career. Michael Whittisley said Emma was definitely special today. He's the distance coach for Kansas track and field. Quote, "We knew she would probably have to run similarly to what she did at the regionals to have a chance, and she was even a little faster in both. The execution today was really, really good, especially down to the last 80 meters of the 800. She was special." End quote. All right, well, in addition to Jumatai, Mason Minershagen earned the second team All-American honors of her career when she tied for 13th with a top clearance of 4.39 meters. Minershagen cleared the opening 4.09 meters bar on her first try of the pole vault, as well as the next 4.24 meters bar. She was able to vault 4.39 on her second attempt. Then she barely fell 3 times at the 4.49 meters height. John Swabick closed his season with a 20th place finish in the decathlon. Other notes as well. The women's 4x400 relay team, composed of Ethel Amasa, Deshane Skeet, Pearl Awanya, and Sydney Smith, closed the night with a time of 3:31.42, placing them 17th in the 4x400 meter. Jayhawks are next going to be in action tomorrow. That's going to close out the season. Gemitai is scheduled to compete in the women's 1500 final at 7:12 p.m. Central, followed by the 800 meters final at 8:14 p.m. So really exciting, an opportunity. ESPN has really good coverage. You can also stream it online, ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN Plus. Again, Gemitai tomorrow, 7:12 p.m. Central, the 1500 meters final. 8:14 p.m. Central, the 800 meters final. Check it out tomorrow night. And again, if you need more information, you can go to kuathletics.com, or you can follow at Kansas TFXC on Twitter, and they'll have updates as well. But keep that in mind as you're watching the World Cup, watching the Royals, whatever you're doing on Saturday night, that a school record holder, Emma Gemitai of Kansas Track and Field, an opportunity, women's 1500 meters final and 800 meters final. What a fantastic season for her. And, a program that doesn't get as much media coverage, KU Track and Field, but they are always spectacular. They're at the Outdoor Championships right now in Eugene, Oregon. All right, that's our KU whip around for today. After this, we're going to close out the show talking a little Royals baseball. We'll update you on the Stanley Cup Finals as well, and some NBA game picks for Game 5, which is going down tomorrow. Quick look at the College World Series bracket as well. That's coming up to close out your week on Rock Chalk Sports, ESPN Kansas City, kansasnation.com. Nice seeing some more recognition for KU baseball players. They've been recognized a lot from national and conference outlets throughout the season, and Custom Lawn and Landscape has sponsored our KU baseball updates all season long. Shout out to our partners over there. Spring and summer are made for backyard fun, and Custom Lawn and Landscape is here to help. They've got a home insect control program that helps defend your yard from pesky bugs so your pets and loved ones can enjoy the outdoors more comfortably and safely. Right now, when you sign up for the season, your first application is absolutely free. That's right, your first application is free. It's a simple way to take back your backyard this spring and summer. Visit Custom Lawn to schedule your first application, which is free. The seasonal insect control program, Custom Lawn and Landscape, helping you love your lawn without the bugs. All right, a lot to get to here. First, let's start with the Kansas City Royals. The Royals lost again to the Rangers. They are continuing to just not get out of this season-long funk, it seems, despite Jack Caglione being absolutely awesome. Cags is now leading the Royals in nearly every offensive category. We know the Royals have been beat up a little bit, but the losses are beating them up more than anything else. They were only able to manage 2 runs yesterday against the Rangers. Again, if they score 4 runs, you feel like it's a win because the Royals offense has just not been very good. There have been some good individuals, but they lose 4-2 to the Rangers daytime. And now 3-game set against the Astros starts tonight. The Astros are a team that have a pretty good offense. Of course, one of the best hitters in the game in Yordan Alvarez, and they've got some other good pieces as well. Their bullpen's not very good, so maybe the Royals can get some late-inning magic if needed. 7:10 tonight, 6:10 tomorrow, and then 1:10. I keep saying this, but the Royals really got to start winning series, and it hasn't happened yet. They're going to throw out Luinder Avila, who's the type of guy who is providing velocity that other guys on the roster can't quite match. So that's a good thing. Going up against Ime for the Astros, he's 3-3 with a 5.24 ERA, 1.40 whip. Again, on paper, this is a situation where the Royals should be scoring. And if they don't, then it's going to continue to be a problem. American League continues to be tasty because it continues to be open. It looks like the Yankees are going to get one of the wild card spots, or Yankees or Rays, I should say, whoever doesn't win the AL East, because those teams are both 15 games over 500. The White Sox are now leading the American League Central, as Cleveland has not been playing well recently. The White Sox were rained out last night, but they're 36-31. Cleveland's played 3 more games than the White Sox. They are 37-33, so they're technically a half game back. Royals dead last now in the AL Central, 9 games back. But again, outside of those 4 teams I mentioned, Tampa, New York Yankees, White Sox, Guardians, and then the Mariners, who are barely over 500 at 36-34. Nobody else is over 500 in the American League. So, again, within 6 games in a wild card spot, you just want the Royals to go on some sort of run. You've got 3 against the Nats after you have the Astros. The Cardinals are coming up. These are teams you should beat. Disappointing. The unbelievable lack of success the Royals had against Texas Rangers, a middling team in their own right. They went just 1-5 in the past couple weeks, closing out the season series to the Rangers. So start a new series, and a reminder that it's still not too late in the season, as the Royals still have an opportunity, but got to start stringing some wins together. Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes knocked off the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas actually led this one 1-0 early, but the Canes would score the next 4 goals, and the home team won it 4-2. They lead the Stanley Cup Finals right now, 3-2. Next game is going to be in Sin City as the series flips, and they've got the 2-2, 1-1-1 format. So Carolina can close it out and win the Stanley Cup if they're able to pick up a victory on away ice. So keep that at the forefront here as the weekend rolls on. NBA, that's going down Game 5, and how hungry are the Spurs going to be? They're back at home, also a 2-2, 1-1-1 format. Spurs are pretty big favorites, despite the fact that they blew a 29-point lead, the biggest blown lead in NBA Finals history. They're minus 5.5 at home. This is going to be tomorrow at 7:40. Over under 216.5. The Knicks, 5.5-point dogs, but they are plus 160 on the money line. So people out there thinking there's still a decent chance that the Knicks can win on the money line. If you look at it right now, MVP looking like it'll be Brunson at minus 115. He had 36 points, but OG Anunoby throwing his name in the hat as he is plus 210. He's coming off of that incredible performance where he had 33 points in his own right. He hit 7 threes, and as I said yesterday, became just the 5th player in NBA Finals history to have a 2-game stretch where he scored 60 points and hit 10 threes. Names like Steph, Kobe, Clay, Reggie Miller are the group that OG Anunoby is now with in terms of 60 points and 10 threes in back-to-back NBA Finals. He is plus 210 to win the MVP. No other Knicks player is closer than plus 4,000. That's what Karl Anthony Towns is. And if the Spurs win the final, it's going to be Wemby who gets MVP. He's plus 390. Steph Castle is plus 25,000 for the top 2 Spurs players. But again, they got to focus on winning games as they, at this point, being down in the series, have a very unlikely chance to win the finals, but it could happen. They're still plus 380 are the Spurs to win the finals. That would mean taking care of business at home tonight, got to steal one at Madison Square in Game 6, and then win at home in Game 7, the best 2 words in sports. The Knicks minus 500 right now to win the series. All right, let's see what else we got to cover. Of course, the other big thing going on right now in the world of sports, the Men's College World Series. West Virginia and Troy, they kicked things off a little bit earlier today. Exciting that that's underway, and certainly happy that the Big 12 has a representative. We are bummed that Kansas is not there. The College World Series, as it is, kind of goes back to the regional type setting where it's not a super regional best of 3. You're back to the regional situation where it's double elimination. So West Virginia and Troy are getting underway a little bit earlier today. In that same grouping on the one side of the bracket, because they don't adjust which teams are on which sides of the bracket, you've got North Carolina and Ole Miss. So that would be the others bracket side of the bracket, compared to the flip side is the SEC side. Now, there is one SEC team in Ole Miss, of course, but West Virginia and Troy earlier today, and then tonight you've got UNC and Ole Miss. First pitch of that will be very shortly at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha. Winners of that will go to the winners bracket, similar to the regionals. The losers are not done. They just go to the elimination game in the losers bracket. Again, West Virginia, Troy, which was tied 4-4 a little bit earlier today, and Ole Miss and UNC a little bit later. UNC is the number 5 overall seed. Then on the other side, it's only SEC teams, like I've talked about. You've got Alabama and Oklahoma. Of course, that would have been where Kansas was slotted had they were able to knock off the Sooners. That would have been a representative from the Big 12, which would have been cool. And then Georgia and Texas. So a lot of familiarity. Again, same deal. The losers of that will go and be in an elimination game, whereas the winners get a chance to win again and then be in essentially the final, what we came to know as the regional final But if you're 2-0 going into that regional final game, quasi-regional final, then you can afford a loss, and the team emerging from the loser's bracket would have to beat you twice. So West Virginia, Troy, North Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Texas. One of those teams will be the national champion on the baseball side. Of course, nobody in Omaha was in Omaha last year, so cool opportunity, I guess. If you're a Kansas fan, you're cheering for West Virginia. I guess if you're a college baseball fan for any team that's not from the SEC, you're cheering for the three teams that aren't, which is WVU, North Carolina, or the team that's 38-30 and has ended up being the Cinderella in this whole thing, the Troy Trojans. That is underway. Again, Men's College World Series could go as long as 10 days, could go through the 21st or 22nd of this month. So got World Cup going on, NHL Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, and the Men's College World Series going on as well. It's a full slate. We're going to have a packed show on Monday when Dan will be back. We're going to recap all of that. You're going to hear stories from Dan's wedding and hopefully from his honeymoon, as well as I'm sure he and Piper have had a great time over in Cancun. And want to shout out all of our guests who have stayed on extended with me this week on Rock Chalk Sports. And of course, our great technical director, Elijah Schmidt, who's helped make sure everything is going. Big shout out again to our sponsors, Central Bank, Custom Lawn, Heinen Outdoor Power Equipment, Crown Automotive as well, and Jocelyn's Jewelry, Jefferson's. We appreciate everybody who has done so much to make sure that we have stayed on air and have this provided for you. Coverage of everything, Algeria World Cup, anything we can get for you. Coverage of KU track and field, we'll have that as well for you on Kansas Nation. And of course, schedules are out. Men's basketball, women's basketball. In terms of conferences, we've got KU soccer schedule out as well. We've got coaching news, all of that. Again, you can find out on kansasnation.com and on our socials at the Kansas Nation, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and of course, Kansas Nation on Facebook. You'll find the best coverage. Hope everybody has fun tonight watching the USA in the World Cup. Can't wait to break everything down for you next week on Rock Chalk Sports. For Elijah Schmidt, Sean Kellerman saying thanks for joining me all week, live on Facebook, live on YouTube, watching on kansasnation.com, and of course, listening on ESPN Kansas City. We'll see you guys next week. Rock Chalk.